undefeated bracket. Jim Davis, current Players Champion, 7-0, is playing against Noah Wallaert with Merfolk. He's undefeated, but has picked up a draw.
Okay. And so it looks like Aether Vial in play for Wallaert. That's definitely going to matter against this Jeskai deck.
A ton. This is game 3, so 1 game apiece for the 2 of them. So for Wallaert, he had the turn 1 Aether Vial, which resolved. Now he has Island and Mutavault in play. On Jim's side, he has a pair of dual lands, but this is one of those. This is a scary spot to be on as a control deck to try to face off against this.
Yep, and we don't know exactly how Jim sideboarded. In the main deck, there's 2 Spell Singers, 3 Mana Leak, and 3 Remand, which are all pretty much blank against Aether Vial. Presumably, at least the Remands have gotten out of the deck.
Yes.
And it looks like a Mana Leak is in Jim's hand currently.
So Jim plays land 3, it's Flooded Strand. We go back over to Noah. The Aether Vial ticks up to 2. Now it looks like he's debating whether or not to play a creature from his hand or just to play all of them through the Aether Vial.
Yeah, he doesn't have the 1-2 punch of Vial plus Cavern of Souls. So
that's just the really rude combo.
Yeah, there is some play to the counter spells that Jim has available yet.
So he will Vial in what looks to be Lord of Atlantis. Activate Mutavault. Now it is a 3/3 Island Walk Mutavault. And it will swing in. I think Lightning Bolts are going to start flying here, but for Jim, he's got 1 red mana source. See if he wants to fetch for a second. He will bolt the Lord of Atlantis, but that's going to be Spell Pierced. Jim will pay. I'm a little surprised to see Spell Pierced used that way.
Yeah, that's a very aggressive Spell Pierce.
Yeah, Jim gets a basic island and pays. So he'll take 2 off the Mutavault. Drops to 16, 2 off fetch lands as well.
Yeah. So one thing about this position, the chip shot from Mutavault, he gets in on this turn, but Merfolk is not a deck that really has very much reach.
If Jim can keep pace with Lightning Bolts and Snapcaster Mages, then he'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Looks like at least 1 Mana Leak stranded in Jim's hand. He'll play Steam Vents for the turn and pass. You go back over to Noah, draws another Mutavault. Still has a second Lord of Atlantis in hand, so there are options. He'll play Mutavault. Activate the first Mutavault. This is the one that can attack this turn. And swing.
Mutavault is one of the better cards for the Merfolk deck in this matchup. It enables you to technically be ahead on spells. You don't have to cast them so that they're not interacting with counters. So it's good that he drew 2. Still pretty curious about that Spell Pierce, but a number of things are going well for Noah. At this stage, though, Jim is going to start casting a lot of removal spells.
Well, what happened here is Noah vialed in that other Lord of Atlantis, and Jim plays Snapcaster Mage, flashing, giving Lightning Bolt flashback. He bolts away the Lord of Atlantis and then blocks the Mutavault, and this all works. Noah loses everything there.
Yeah, and Jim's still at 16. His position is looking pretty solid at this point. Still another Lightning Bolt in his hand.
Vendilion Click as well. Noah will activate Mutavault and swing. Jim may just continue to bolt it. He has a Ghost Quarter that he played this turn, so we'll see whether or not he quarters or bolts.
I kind of like just taking 2 and then figuring it out at the end step.
I like this. He's going to play Vendilion Click. My guess is that Jim will actually target. It'll be interesting to see who he targets. He has a Mana Leak in his own hand.
Yeah, he could wheel a Mana Leak. Or he could take a look at this grip of all lands.
Island, Oboro, and 3rd Mutavault. That is great news for Jim Davis.
Yeah, couldn't even wheel one of these if he wanted to. Vendilion Click only hits non-land cards. I'm kind of surprised Jim went for the block there. The idea is that Noah is just out of gas, and he can kind of do whatever he wants from this point. Though I like having the clock on the table anyway. He does still have Celestial Colonnade, but I think I'm happier having Vendilion Click as opposed to not versus the Mutavault.
So Noah continues to make land drops here. He has played his 3rd Mutavault. He'll now activates it. Decides again, it'll be Miro Rijuri. And he casts it instead of playing it through Aether Vial, so Jim gets to cash in the Mana Leak.
Yeah, that was the draw for the turn, so, Noah didn't have that information to take the Vial up to 3, cast it right away, and the Mana Leak was hanging out waiting.
Well, Jim has parried all the blows that Noah has to offer, and with a hand of lands, we'll see how he wants to close out. What I like about how Jim's played this is he has used his non-kill spells to kill Noah's creatures. We have seen Snapcaster Mage trade with Mutavault, Vendilion Click trade with Mutavault, Mana Leak trade with Miro Rijuri, so that at this point, Jim's remaining hand is Bolt, Helix, Snapcaster Mage.
It's a very good hand.
Right. He hasn't had to use any of them. Curse Catcher from Noah. Now he ticks the Vial up to 3 on that turn. Jim, though, having none of it, will just draw. Draws Steam Vents. Still a very healthy 16 life. And just passes the turn. Declines to even play the Steam Vents.
So, hanging on to Steam Vents, you could theoretically discard it to a Nahiri down the road. I kind of like playing the Steam Vents because it would open up the avenue to start attacking with Celestial Colonnade and leaving up Lightning Helix or Bolt mana. Yeah.
I think what this to me says is that Jim is not planning on maybe he's not planning on using Colonnade as the win con.
Yeah. The way he's played this game suggests that he's not really interested in closing the game. He can play this all day.
Noah ticking his Aether Vial up to 4, so we're still looking at cards like Master of Waves in the deck then. Jim draws a second Lightning Helix. Now he'll go ahead and play that Steam Vents.
Now with 9 points of burn in hand plus a Snapcaster Mage.
And a Colonnade, yeah.
It's starting to be pretty clear how quickly Jim can close the game. Though at this point, Noah started to draw a couple creatures of his own.
Lord of Atlantis played off Cavern of Souls. Noah will then activate his Mutavault. Swing with Mutavault and Curse Catcher. This is an attempt for 5 damage. We'll see how Jim wants to counter. Lightning Bolt at Curse Catcher. Curse Catcher sacrifices. Snapcaster Mage on Lightning Bolt. Bolt on Lord of Atlantis. Block on Mutavault. A full trade. Leaving Jim without threats, though, by cashing in that Snapcaster. You're right, he's still just not trying to win.
And now, with no reason to leave the Ghost Quarter up because the Mutavault's off the table, Jim can start attacking with the Colonnade, leaving up Helix, and not really having to worry about anything.
Yeah, there's actually only one Mutavault remaining in Noah's deck.
Yep.
And that's exactly what it'll do. Activate Colonnade. Swing for 4. Noah's at 16. Then he'll use the Colonnade to cast Serum Visions.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the Modern Challenge, your next round pairings have been posted.
A path and a land. He'll put the path to exile on top, land on the bottom.
Yeah, and with that path, now Noah can't even draw Master of Waves to really even be playing Magic.
Because Master of Waves has protection from red, so it was actually still an out for Noah. But that draw should take care of that. Jim will play Flooded Strand. His hand is still Path and 2 Helix. And Colonnade will go back to work.
Yeah, Noah did find the 4th Mutavault, but Jim is much less concerned with that at this point in time.
Well, he's racing it. Noah drops to 12 on that attack.
Yep. Jim still has a bunch of burn in hand, and Lightning Helix gains life.
Mutavault activates. Swings. We'll see if Jim... Yeah, Jim just takes it. He's winning the race now.
Yep.
Aether Vial Island in hand for Noah. Plays... Island, passes turn. Jim will crack his fetch land, go to 13.
So double Helix doesn't kill Noah just yet.
So what I like here is, I'm guessing, so this is a matchup that before the Nahiri was part of Jeskai, Nahiri is part of the Jeskai deck, this was already a pretty decent matchup for Jeskai.
Yeah, you're pretty overloaded on removal spells. You have access to Path to Exile, so Master Waves isn't as good against you as against some other decks.
I wouldn't be surprised to learn that Jim actually sides out the Nahiri and Emrakul in the matchup. Which goes back to the old school deck.
I'd believe that.
Here's Colonnade turning into the 4-4. It's going to hit Noah again. He drops to 8. Picks up the Oboro. All right.
Going out on my terms with my Oboro.
I'm taking that one with me. How
Taking the game Oboro home.
does Oboro tap when you pay a blue to bounce it, or could Jim ghost quarter it in response?
It does not tap.
Okay,
you just pay a 1.
So I can't like quarter it in response just to be rude.
No.
I'll bounce it. All right. Master of the Pearl Trident. It's the play. Jim is going to Lightning Helix Noah, then shows him I'm going to Helix you again, activate this Colonnade, and a shake of the hand. So for Noah Wallaert, it is his first loss. He goes to 6-1-1. It means that for next round, he will be faced with a win and in to make it into day 2. 6-2-1, not going to be a good enough record.
Yep.
But for